What's up, Gooners? Arsenal have resumed negotiations for Sandro Tonali, and Josh Kroenke has revealed his transfer plans after winning the title. But that's not all. Arsenal have opened talks to sign one player who has been described as the best in the world in a deal worth over £100 million. Plus, Gary Neville says Andrea Berta needs to start thinking about making two specific signings at Arsenal very soon. If you want all the details on these massive transfer stories as we prepare for the Champions League final, smash that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and let's dive into what could be a transformative summer for Arsenal. Let's jump straight into the first story because Newcastle midfielder Sandro Tonali was keen to join Arsenal in January, and discussions have reportedly accelerated between the two parties since the end of the Premier League season. Arsenal have reportedly wasted no time in reviving their interest in Newcastle midfielder Tonali after lifting the Premier League trophy for the first time in 22 years. But the club is already planning how to strengthen the squad for next season. Tonali first emerged as a target for Arsenal in the January transfer window, when sporting director Andrea Berta was made aware of the possibility of signing him. The midfielder's own representative is understood to have reached out to Berta because Tonali is desperate to continue playing in the Champions League next season. Newcastle finished 12th this season, their worst finish under Eddie Howe, and their £55 million signing from AC Milan in 2023 may not be willing to stay put, despite being under contract until June 2028. Back in January, Manchester City, Juventus and Chelsea were all credited with interest along with Arsenal, and it seems the Gunners are keen to steal a march on their rivals now. Italian outlet Tutto Mercato reports that Arsenal have resumed contact with Tonali's agent Giuseppe Riso to try and establish the parameters of a deal. The Gunners want further depth in midfield, where Declan Rice has been overworked after the injury to Mikel Merino. Miles Lewis-Skelly has been drafted into midfield in recent weeks, with Christian Norgard not trusted to play important games and Martin Zubimendi's levels falling from those he set earlier in the campaign. Tonali's agent Riso openly spoke about the possibility of his client leaving back in February, telling Tuttosport, "Newcastle are having a hard time letting go of Sandro, and he wants to lead the club to the Champions League. We'll evaluate and decide what to do in the summer." Tonali contributed 3 goals and 7 assists in 53 appearances across all competitions for Newcastle this season. Arsenal's pulling power after winning the title is clear. Arsenal co-owner Josh Kroenke underlined the desire not to stand still after breaking a run of 3 successive second-place finishes with the title. After handing over the trophy at Selhurst Park, he told NBC, "The business never stops. Right now there are already other teams who are trying to strengthen and come at us for next season. We need to be aware of that." Now let's talk about a massive potential signing, because Arsenal have reportedly opened talks to sign one player who has been described as the best in the world, with his price tag set to be over £100 million. After recently securing the Premier League title, Arsenal are undoubtedly one of the most attractive clubs to play for heading into the new season. If Mikel Arteta's side manages to beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final later this week, they should have their pick of the majority of players in the world. The Gunners don't need too many reinforcements considering the season they've had, but they won't want to stand still and will likely continue investing in the market. According to journalist Pedro Fulana, Arsenal are one of the sides who have opened talks to sign Atletico Madrid striker Julian Alvarez ahead of the summer transfer window. This is massive news. The reporter claims that intermediaries with connections at Arsenal have held talks with Atletico, with Alvarez's agents giving the green light for a potential departure from Spain. Fulana revealed there have been intermediaries with connections to PSG and Arsenal who have also inquired with Atletico. It's obvious that when all this is happening, it's because Julian's agents, and therefore Julian himself, have given the green light for discussions about his future away from Atletico Madrid. It looks as though Arsenal could face competition from PSG, and it will be interesting to see whether their Champions League final clash this weekend impacts a potential transfer for either club. If Arsenal can pull off the signing of Alvarez, who could cost over £100 million, it would be a huge coup for the Gunners. The Argentine striker is very different to someone like Victor Gyökeres, with the former Manchester City man more capable of dropping deeper and linking play. The contrast in styles could be ideal for Arsenal going forward, giving them different tactical options to use depending on the opponent. Former Liverpool striker Fernando Torres is certainly one man who is convinced by Alvarez, labelling him the best player in the world. Torres said, "For me, Julian Alvarez is the best player in the world, without any doubt. There's not much more to say. We enjoy watching him. We've been enjoying him for a long time." Now let's talk about Gary Neville's analysis, because Arsenal may be Premier League champions, but the work behind the scenes is already continuing, and Neville has identified two key positions. Mikel Arteta's side have finally ended their 22-year wait for the title and still have the chance to make the season even more historic by winning the Champions League against PSG. However, as every elite club knows, standing still is dangerous in football. That's why Andrea Berta is expected to stay busy in the transfer market again this summer, despite Arsenal already having one of the strongest squads in Europe. Gary Neville believes there are still two positions Arsenal should seriously think about improving to maintain their dominance. One of the biggest reasons Arsenal became Premier League champions this season was the incredible depth Arteta built across most areas of the squad. Even during injury crises, the Gunners still had enough quality to continue winning matches consistently. However, Neville believes there are still a couple of areas where Arsenal may want more protection moving forward to sustain success. The former Manchester United defender admitted he doesn't want to focus too heavily on transfers right now because Arsenal supporters deserve to enjoy the title and Champions League final first. Even so, he still highlighted two positions that could become priorities for Berta later in the summer once celebrations are done. Neville said on his podcast, "Arsenal will need to add again, but at this point right now when they've won the title and got a Champions League final, I don't want to focus on that. Let's be clear, they have to be thinking ahead. Do they need another centre-forward as backup to Victor Gyökeres? Do they need another central midfielder in case Declan Rice or Martin Zubimendi aren't quite there? There's probably a couple of positions that Arsenal will still want to think about, but they've got a lot of strength in that squad." One of the biggest differences between great teams and dominant teams is recruitment. Arsenal have finally reached the top again, but staying there is always the hardest part. That's why Berta's decisions over the next few transfer windows could define whether this becomes the start of an era. Alright Gooners, that's all the massive news from today. Now I want to hear from you. Should Arsenal sign Tonali this summer? Is Alvarez worth over £100 million? And do you agree with Neville that we need another striker and midfielder? Drop all your thoughts in the comments right now. I read every single comment and your debates are always incredible. Let's get a proper discussion going about our summer strategy. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want every Arsenal update as we prepare for the Champions League final, you absolutely need to hit that subscribe button immediately. Smash it right now and turn on notifications. We're one game away from the double. Until next time, Gooners, believe in this team and come on you Gunners.